It was a warm summer day, and Alice was getting bored sitting beside her sister, who had her nose buried in a book. Suddenly, a little white rabbit with pink eyes ran in front of her, shouting, oh dear, I'm late." The rabbit pulled a watch out of his pocket to check the time. He shook his head, then disappeared down a rabbit's hole. "I must find out why he's in such a hurry," cried Alice. Filled with curiosity, she ran to the rabbit's hole and peeped through the entrance. Alice began suffering from schizophrenia when she was 13. She's now 15. Hallucinations, hearing or seeing things that aren't there, and the inability to sleep or concentrate are all behaviors that are early warning signs of the illness. The rabbit is a hallucination caused by the schizophrenia and is often running away from Alice, causing her to be sidetracked and run after it. The hole dropped suddenly and Alice fell. "When will I ever reach the bottom of this dreadful hole?" she shouted while falling helplessly downwards. Finally, she landed in a long, narrow hallway with the doors of many sizes. On a three-legged table, Alice found a tiny gold key and a green bottle that said, "Drink me." Alice also suffers from alcoholism caused by the schizophrenia, so there was no hesitation for her to drink it. "This key must fit in one of the doors," she said. "It's behind the table," she cried, "but I'm too big to fit through such a little door. Maybe the potion in the bottle will help me," she decided, and she drank it. Alice began to shrink until she was no bigger than a doll. She opened the tiny door and quickly ran through it. "What a splendid garden!" she exclaimed. "Why, I'm no bigger than the insects that crawl on these flowers." But the excitement soon wore off. Alice grew bored with her tiny size. "I want to be big again," she shouted. Her shout startled the white rabbit, who ran past her again. Mistaking her for his maid, he ordered, "Go to my cottage and fetch my gloves and fan." Alice was confused by the rabbit's behavior. "Maybe I'll find something at the cottage to help me." A piece of chocolate cake was kept on the table by the doorway. Next to the cake was a note that read, "Eat me." "I'm so hungry," Alice said as she ate the cake. "I feel so strange. Oh no, I've grown larger than this house," she cried. "Get out of my way, you're blocking the door," shouted the white rabbit. Alice managed to pick up his fan. Immediately she began to shrink. "Oh, I'll never get back to the right size," Alice cried. She went looking for help. Soon she saw a green caterpillar dressed in a pink jacket. The caterpillar, being knowledgeable in psychological therapy, acts as a guidance for anybody in Wonderland. He was sitting on the top of a large mushroom, smoking a bubble pipe. "One side makes you big, and the other side makes you small," he said to Alice before slithering away. "One side of what?" Alice called after him. "The mushroom, silly," he answered. Alice ate a piece of the mushroom. "Thank goodness I'm growing," she cried. "But which way do I go?" "The path leads to the Mad Hatter. The other way leads to the March Hare," said a voice. Alice turned to find a smiling Cheshire cat in a tree. The Cheshire cat is also another one of Alice's hallucinations, who often gives her advice that she believes is helpful. "I'll see you later at the Queen's croquet game," he said before disappearing. Alice walked down a path. "How lovely! A tea party," she thought. "There's no room for you," shouted the Mad Hatter. "You may stay if you answer my riddle." Alice smiled. She loved riddles. The Mad Hatter suffers from Asperger's syndrome, which causes him to have significant trouble with social situations. The symptoms from this syndrome often appear during childhood when social interaction is introduced into the child's life. He uses riddles as a way to cope with having to interact with others. After several riddles, an attempt for the Mad Hatter to be a sociable person, Alice became confused. "Every time I answer, you ask a question," she told the Mad Hatter. "We don't know any of the answers," he giggled. "This is a waste of time," scolded Alice. The others ignored her. They were trying to wake the dormouse. Alice continued to walk. She found herself in the middle of the field where the Queen of Hearts was playing croquet. Her guards and gardeners were shaped like hearts. One gardener had planted white roses by mistake, and then painted them red. "Off with their heads," shrieked the Queen. "I hate white roses." "Have you ever played croquet?" the Queen asked Alice. The Queen suffers from severe panic attacks, causing her guards and everyone around her to do everything and anything to keep her happy and calm. She has had bad anxiety for as long as she can remember. During her panic attacks, she shakes, screams, and often believes she's about to die. "Yes," Alice timidly answered, "but I've never used a flamingo or a hedgehog." "Play with me," ordered the Queen, "and let me win or I'll have your head." Alice tried her best to play, but she had trouble with her flamingo. "Off with her head," cried the Queen. Just then, a trumpet sounded at the distance, calling court to session. Everyone rushed into the courtroom. Court is now in session, announced the White Rabbit. Will Alice please come to the stand? Alice took the stand and looked at the jury box, where the March Hare and the Mad Hatter were making noise. The Dormouse slept, and the Cheshire Cat smiled at her. What's going on? Asked Alice. You are guilty of stealing the delicious heart-shaped tarts, accused the Queen, and now you must be punished. Off of their head, yelled the Queen. How silly, Alice replied. I do not have the slightest idea what you were talking about. I was only playing croquet. Alice came out innocent, and as she was leaving the courthouse, out of the corner of her eye, she noticed the caterpillar. What are you doing here? Said Alice. I've been following you, and I've noticed that your symptoms have gotten worse. Are you aware that you have schizophrenia? I thought I might. How do I get rid of it, Dr. Caterpillar? Our solutions are putting you on an antipsychotic medication to help suppress the hallucinations, or I could also provide you with psychotherapy to help maintain medication, learn social skills, and reassurance. Okay, thank you for the help, said Alice. I really hope that I can get better. Now, bring me to your friends, said the caterpillar. Which one first? Alice asked. Bring me to the Mad Hatter. He is in need of help. Okay, Alice said, escorting the caterpillar to the Mad Hatter. Hello, Mad Hatter, the caterpillar said. I've noticed that you struggle in social situations, and I think that you might have Asperger's. I always feel very uncomfortable in social situations. I think that you're right, Dr. Caterpillar. What can I do to get over this? Said the Mad Hatter. Well, there are several cognitive behavioral therapies that could help you overcome this. Psychotherapy will help you learn social skills and social cues and how to deal with your emotions. There are also psychiatric medications such as mood stabilizers and antidepressants that will help you cope with your Asperger's, said the Dr. Caterpillar. Okay, thank you, Doctor. I'll put some thought into it and get back to you, said the Mad Hatter. Great, now bring me to the Queen of Hearts. The caterpillar went up to the Queen's guards and asked if he can speak to her. A guardsman entered the room to ask the Queen when the caterpillar could go in, and he could hear shouts echoing from the room. What's he doing here, a caterpillar? In this moment, the caterpillar was certain that the Queen of Hearts had an anxiety disorder, more specifically, a panic disorder. Open up, the caterpillar said. I'm just trying to help. I think you have a panic disorder, and I want to offer some solutions. Fine, said the Queen, and she opened the door. The first way that we can solve this is with behavioral therapy. This treatment focuses on identifying and understanding behavioral patterns. Benefits are seen in 12 to 16 weeks. Behavioral therapy teaches you skills that need to be practiced repeatedly in order to see improvement. The second way to cope with your anxiety is with medication. Medication is genuinely safe and effective, and you can either use medication with short or long-term results. An example of anxiety medications are antidepressants used to calm nerves. The caterpillar felt as if he helped the three patients as best as he could, and he realized that it was up to them to make a difference in their lives. Alice felt someone touch her shoulder. Wake up, you've been sleeping for too long, said her sister softly. I had a strange dream, said Alice. She told her sister about the White Rabbit and the Mad Hatter and the Queen of Hearts. But her sister wasn't paying attention. You're reading again, mumbled Alice, and she stretched. Alice saw a white rabbit with pink eyes scurry behind a tree.